we first started reporting on the laptop, the New York Post, back in October last year, about 3 weeks before the election. And, we did our due diligence. We published the contents of a couple of emails that were particularly damning because they put the lie to Joe Biden's constant refrain during the election campaign that he knew nothing about his son Hunter Biden's overseas business dealings. And there's so much evidence on the laptop and also in Tony Bobulinski, Hunter's former partner, in all his material, his documents, his emails, which overlap with the laptop, that Joe Biden met multiple times with Hunter Biden's business partners from Mexico and Russia and China and Kazakhstan and Ukraine. And he met them in Beijing. He met them in Washington, D.C. at his own home when he was vice president. He met them at Cafe Milano in Georgetown while he was vice president. So, as always, it's the cover-up that really ends up coming back to bite you. And I think the lies that have been told by Joe Biden about his involvement in his family's influence peddling scheme, trading on his name, getting tens of millions of dollars, and compromising who is now the president of the United States in the eyes of China, in Russia, Ukraine. I mean, America's national interest is in jeopardy in this case.
Yeah, and you bring up an interesting point, because even after he decided that he didn't want to run, Joe Biden, in 2016, there was always that specter of still he might commit to run in a future race, which ultimately he did. And I think it's fair to say that they were also trading on that future influence too, correct?
That's right. But also remember that when Joe Biden met Tony Bobulinski in LA in 2017, a few months after he'd ended his term, his family had already spent the previous 2 years, the last 2 years of his vice presidency, trading on his name, working for the Chinese Communist Party's Belt and Road Initiative around the world, using the Biden name to open doors, to allow the CCP to invest in these countries. This is the imperialist way of President Xi and the Chinese Communist Party. And the Biden family and their partners were part of that. And, Hunter Biden expected the money was going to flow. He said $40 million that his family was owed by CEFC, this capitalist arm of Belt and Road Initiative, this energy company. And he wanted that money to be paid to the family for the previous 2 years' work. And the money clearly wasn't going to be paid until after Joe Biden stepped down. And Hunter Biden was very angry about May that year, because the money hadn't been forthcoming yet. And in subsequent months, tens of millions of dollars did come through from the Chinese.
And this is where it becomes, in my opinion, a huge national security issue, because you hit up on something with your reporting, Miranda, on this. The Belt and Road Initiative, for people who don't know what that is, that's China's their way of getting a toe in, basically, and helping countries with infrastructure and also expanding their network of control. And because you wrote about how the Bidens were with CEFC, working with CEFC to essentially do that. They were. Is it fair to say that they were making money by working with China to expand China's influence with their Belt and Road? That's a bombshell to me.
That's what I think too. It's a bombshell. Another bombshell is that CEFC was also brokering the biggest deal China had done, energy deal with Russia. China was going to buy into Rosneft, which is the Russian state-owned energy company. Vladimir Putin was reluctant to do that, but Russia had been hammered with sanctions because of the MH17 downing of that plane over Ukraine, and America and Europe had placed these sanctions on them, and they really had no choice. And for President Xi, this was a golden opportunity to have this marriage between Russia and China and become the energy superpower of the world. And this was really detrimental to America. And right in the center of this sort of geopolitical minefield, this tectonic plate shifting of the power balance in the global energy world, was Hunter Biden, a crackhead, and his bumbling Uncle Jim, whose role seemed to be just to clean up after Hunter. Incredible that they were right in the center of that. And the only reason that deal fell over, and remember, Joe Biden had a nameplate that Hunter had made up for him Joe Biden and Hunter Biden were going to have this office in Georgetown, and it was going to be CEFC America along with their Chinese partners. So Joe Biden was at the center of this. And he was going to benefit from it enormously. And the reason that they were giving all this money to the Bidens, why do you think? I mean, they weren't doing it because of their genius with international business. It was to open doors. It was that the vice president and perhaps future president embodied American prestige and power and money. And, it opened doors for them all over the world. And just one little example to show what Hunter Biden was being paid for. Ukraine, the corrupt energy company Burisma, was paying him $83,000, $333 a month to do very little, to be on their board. And when his father's term as vice president ended, a few weeks after that, Hunter Biden's payment was cut in half from Burisma. So, it was obvious. Everybody knew what this was all about. Hunter knew about it even in that ABC interview that he gave. He said that he wouldn't really amount to anything if it wasn't for his family name. I think it just became so sort of internalized and so normal for the Biden family. Joe Biden had been doing this since his earliest days as a senator in Delaware, and he just internationalized that Delaware influence peddling business that he had.
This, talking with Miranda Devine, whose latest book, Laptop from Hell, Hunter Biden, Big Tech, and the Dirty Secrets the President Tried to Hide. When I hear, especially because the stuff with Russia and Ukraine, Burisma is unbelievable. And then with the CEFC, I was reading, because there have been some excerpts as well from your book that's been out, the diamond, that Chairman Ye, who's the guy with CEFC, a 3-carat, $80-something thousand diamond that he gave to Hunter Biden, who really needed the money at that time. This guy you wrote, former deputy of the CCP's propaganda arm, a really young, charismatic, apparently going by Chinese media, billionaire who's right in line with the CCP. I read stuff like this and I think you have the son of the president of the United States, essentially a grifter with the chairman of this, has the blessing of the CCP. How do they reconcile, for instance, some of the stuff that they talk about just with legislatively, like their green energy stuff, which empowers and enriches China, which is exactly what you would broker, a kind of deal that you would broker with them through CEFC. I mean, it comes full circle here. What floors me is how no other media is questioning whether or not the Bidens are making money by some of the green energy stuff that they're promoting that China has the monopoly over.
Well, this is the problem. Every single thing that this country does, every single policy that Joe Biden, enacts that has something to do with people overseas, the countries that his family has made lots of money out of, is going to be called into question. And, it's also opaque. He's lied about it. His family has lied about it. We know that there are these investigations going on into both Hunter Biden and into Jim Biden. We only found out about that after the election. The American people were not allowed the proper due diligence that is normally done by the media on one candidate, because there was such an imperative from so many in the media to just get rid of Donald Trump at any cost. And of course, the pandemic gave Joe Biden perfect cover to hide in the basement and not really be subjected to the normal media scrutiny. And then, of course, the pandemic also allowed the Democratic Party to change the rules in battleground states for voting. And so this was a perfect storm that allowed a really unsuitable person to slip into the highest office in the land, the leader of the free world.